All right, now we're going to apply what we already know about estimation, and we're going to use that now with subtraction. Estimating strategies to subtract numbers, including front-end estimation, so we'll revisit that, compatible numbers, and compensation. We'll look at all three of those. This is Unit 2, Lesson 6, the Connect section. Here we have our first problem. Here are some strategies for estimating a difference. To estimate 3,818 subtracted from 2,079, she decided to use front-end rounding. So remember, we just use our first digit. It can also be our first two digits and so on. 3,800 becomes just 3,000. 2,079 becomes just 2,000. 3,000 minus 2,000 is 1,000. So that would be our estimate. Now remember, this is going to be an underestimate because really, if we look at 3,818, it is much closer to 4,000 than to 3,000. So this is definitely an underestimate by quite a bit. For a closer estimate, Alice looked at the last three digits of each number and decided, well, 818 is close to 800, 79 is close to about 100, 800 minus 100 is 700. So then she added 700 to her estimate of 1,000 and now made it 1,700 as an estimate, which would be much closer. All right, now we have another estimate. We are estimating 5,849. Minus 3,097. Brian decided to estimate each number to the closest 1,000, so he's using benchmarks. 5,847 is closer to 6,000 than to 5,000, so he made it into 6,000. 3,097 is closer to 3,000 than to 4,000, so he made it into 3,000. 6,000 minus 3,000 is 3,000, so this would be an appropriate estimate for 5,849 subtracting 3,097. For a closer estimate, he might estimate to the number closest to 100. So 5,849 is closer to 5,800 or closer to 5,900, so it becomes 5,800. 3,097 is closer to 3,100 than it is to 3,000, so it becomes 3,100. Subtract those two and you end up with 2,700. Again, remember, if you need to, and I know I probably would, 5,800, subtracting 3,100, and then do the subtraction, making sure to borrow if necessary. Feel free to always write it in the up and down way if you'd like. You don't necessarily have to go vertical. You can always go up and down. All right, and next we have Marie and Sunil, who are using compatible numbers to estimate. They're estimating 4,803, taking away 310. So Marie said 4,803 is close to 4,810. And then she just subtracted 310 from it to make it 4,500. Sunil said that 310 is close to 303, and he left this number the same. And because you'll notice they both end in 03, that makes these really easy to work with. Just like these both end in 10, which makes them easy to work with. They changed the two digits for the first number so that both numbers have the same last two digits, which makes it much easier to work with, which makes them compatible, because compatible numbers are numbers that are easy to work with. All right, now you're going to practice. We used benchmarks, front-end estimation, compatible numbers. So you can use front-end for this one here, benchmarks here, and let's go benchmarks to the tens place for both, and compatible numbers for this one. Go ahead and press pause and try that now. All right, let's take a look. 43 and 17. front end becomes 40 and 10. Take those away. 0 minus 0 is 0. 4 minus 1 is 3. 30. 96 and 57, front end. 9 just stays 9, add the 0. 5 just stays 5, add the 0. Subtract those. 0 minus 0 is 0. 9 minus 5 is 4. So that would be your front end estimate for both of those. All right, let's take a look at benchmarks. 175 minus 68. We said to the tens place. So 175, 75, is it closer to 80 or closer to 70? Well, it's slightly closer to 80. So 180. 68, is that closer to 70 or closer to 60 or closer to 70? Then we would subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 7 is 1. And 1 minus nothing is 1. 736 and 98. Take away 98. Again, we said to the tens place. So 736. 36, is it closer to 40 or closer to 30? Closer to 40. So 740. Oops, look at my 7. It's a bit weird. 98, closer to 100 or closer to 90? Well, closer to 100. And we would subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 4 minus 0 is, 4. And 7 minus 1 is 6. And let's take a look at our last one. 3,554. Now our numbers are getting bigger, so it's a little bit harder. 1,837. And we're looking for numbers that are easy to work with. I myself always find it easy to work with numbers that end in a 0. So I'm going to make them all into numbers that end into 0. 3,560 I'm going to go with, because 54 is closer. Oops, I should make that 50. Is closer to 50 than 54. Than 60, sorry. 54 is closer to 50 than 60. 1,837. I'm going to make that 40 because that's closer to 37. 37 is closer to 40, and I'll subtract those. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. Oh, shucks, I can't take 8 from 5, so I'm going to have to borrow from the 3. It's going to become 2. I'm going to put 10 over here, so the 5 now becomes 15. 15 minus 8 is 7. I can do that. 2 minus 1, I can take 1 away from 2. It's left with 1. So 1,710 would be my estimate, using compensation, numbers that are close to each other, or compatible numbers, numbers that are close to each other. All right, let's take a look at this one. And this time I'm going to choose to go to the hundreds place. 8,216. 216, is that closer to, it's pretty close to 220. I like 8,220, 8,220. I could make it just 8,200 actually, even because I said I was going to go to the hundreds place. 3,435, closer to 400 or 500, 400. 3,400, and I would subtract again. 0 take away 0 is 0. 0 take away 0 is 0. Can't take 4 from 2, so I'm going to have to borrow. 8 is going to become 7. 12 for the 2 because I've added 10, so 12 minus 4. 8. 7 minus 3, 4. 4,800. All right, now we're moving on to our concept practice. Remember, this allows you to practice the skills. Will become homework. We will mark it and discuss it. Page 58 to 59, numbers 2, 3, 5, and 7. Your estimating strategies to subtract, front-end estimation, compatible numbers, compensation. We didn't add in there benchmarks, but that's one that we've used as well. Benchmarks. Remember that you must show your work as evidence that you understand, and so that I can help you if you have any difficulties with your subtraction. If you do not show your work, there is no evidence that you have done this independently. A good possibility you've done it with a calculator. So making sure, in this case, we want to be working on being able to add and subtract these numbers without a calculator. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always look back at your Connect section. In fact, you can even review the video. You could ask a class member, and of course you can ask me. So as you work, if you have questions, please use one of those strategies to assist yourself. All right, and the exit slip. Remember, this is done after the concept practice. This is used to check whether or not you are understanding concept so far. it must be handed in. The concept is the estimating with subtraction must have your name, must have exit slip. Estimating each difference. Here are your questions for that. Make sure that you do show your work for those, either on this page, if you have it, or on your own page is fine. And I couldn't show this all on the page before, so now I'm going to pull that up, and here is your problem-solving question. So make sure that you answer your problem-solving question. Show all of your work for that one as well. Good luck!